all my life, I've always put my patients right first, rightly so, because that's what I'm there to do. But when I was a patient in this time, I was turned away.
Yeah.
There is a bit of anxiety because obviously it's been over 3 weeks, and over those 3 weeks things have completely changed. We're on an emergency rota now.
Right. Okay.
Our junior, so there's different there's a hierarchy in departments with doctors. So you have your consultant, and then you have your senior registrars, junior registrars, and SHOs. So the SHOs have been taken away from our department to work on COVID-19 wards, and so the department's been run by consultants and registrars. But at a certain time there's a lot of doctors away because we're unwell as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're managing. But I am a bit, there is a bit of anxiety there, because all this talk about PPE, I was first told we're not going to wear masks, and now obviously there is now strict guidelines since the information from all around the world's coming, and we worry about shortages of PPE, but when our patients come first, and that's always been the case. And to go back to my experience, I contacted some people within my speciality in obs and gynae, senior doctors, and I said, look, all my life I've always put my patients right first, rightly so, because that's what I'm there to do. But when I was a patient in this time, I was turned away. There's a whole load of emotions and the psychology about it all. You give and give, which is fine. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're trained to do. That's what I want to do. But when I needed it, it wasn't there. And people were being supportive and understanding about that. But these are things that after the aftermath, when all this ends, I'm going to have to process. These things take time to get over.
Going back to work and kind of like having to go through the psychology part of being off with the possible coronavirus, to then going back with your patients who are pregnant, who are having children. I mean, how are you dealing with that?
The thing is, now I'm beyond the infectious period, apparently. I mean, this is with the evidence that's coming out. So even if I was to have the swab test, because there's 2 types of tests they talk about, I'm sure everyone's aware of. The swab test will probably be negative now.
Right.
So, or it won't be a true result. The thing we need to get are the antibody tests to show that your body's produced the antibodies against this virus.
Okay.
But they're not available yet. They're not available, so we're not going to know. However, at the same time, the time I've had off, yes, I'm recovering, and I want to make sure I'm safe to get back to patients. I'll never know 100%.
Right.
But there is that guilt. I have that guilt, and I bet there's a lot of medics out there that can really resonate with this. I'm at home. Yes, I'm grateful I'm with my family, but I feel guilty that my colleagues are out there risking their lives. Well, I should be by their side working. So there's this conflict with healthcare workers. Although we're self-isolated, we're trying to keep safe, we also have this guilt where we should be out there.
And when you're at work as well, like, are you feeling that guilt that you're at work and possibly you could actually get the virus again, couldn't you, and actually bring it home? So are you always conflicted?
It's always conflicted. And I have a massive interest in mental health anyway. I want to train to be perinatal mental health obstetrician. So I think mental health is very, very important, very important to make sure you see the patient as a whole, a holistic approach. You should never ever exclude the mental health. And all these kind of conflicting psychologies we're having, and all these kind of unprecedented, that word's been used, I know, many times, but the kind of situations,
but it's the right word, isn't it?
Have an impact. It's going to have an impact on healthcare workers. After this, and I can't imagine how we're going to deal with it.
No, and that's the thing as well, because it will be on such an epic proportion as well, because it's not just the health. and also that kind of term of when we get through this, I mean, actually, where there is a point where we're actually not going to get through this, because what we're doing, we're isolating to kind of stop the spread of the virus, but to ease the NHS, you know, because that's what the Prime Minister is urging: stay at home, save the NHS. However, when we go through the process of going back into the real world, as I like to put it, and actually have that freedom again, that's not to say that people won't get the virus again. It's just the fact that we're easing the NHS.
Yeah, that's the reason why these measures are out there, basically, is to ease the burden on the NHS, because if we didn't, there's, as they keep saying, the NHS won't cope.
Yeah.
And lots of lives will be lost unnecessarily as well.
Yeah.
And obviously the healthcare workforce won't be able to cope, full stop.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. And you know, you talk about reinfection. No one knows what this virus is. No one's an expert on this at the moment, because it's a new virus. No one has dealt with it before. And you just have to be careful as well what you read in the media and what's out there, because there's a lot of scaremongering. And the way I deal with it is I try to, I mean, for a long time I use, like I say, I meditate and do a lot of mindfulness and yoga as well. Yeah. I just ground myself.
Yeah.
And you just have to be at a level where you say, I just have to accept what is happening right now. You know,
I totally
none of this
agree.
like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Or none of the morbid, oh, we're all going to die. You know, just this is it, and this is what we have to accept, and we have to just get on with it. Otherwise, you're just going to get enmeshed with the narratives in your mind and go crazy.
Yeah, I think as well, I think stress is, you know, you're trying to control a situation where you can't control it, you know. You know, you've had a job interview and it's not gone really well, so you're really stressed out, you know, that before it, because you don't know what's going to happen, and after it because you feel like you didn't do as well as you could do, but it's a situation you can't control. So again, in this situation, it's a situation we can't control. We've been forced into this, not kind of, and I think that's what it is as well. Like, it would have been nice for the government to come out and say, actually, let's do this together. These are the things that we'd like people to do at home. You know, the weather's nice, open your windows, get the air in, go into your garden, take some deep breaths, like do breathing techniques. And actually that would probably have probably been really nice for the government to come out and do some sort of kind of like speeches like that, you know, maybe but we haven't, and we're all kind of winging this however we can. And as well, you know, like there's people out there that we're being forced to homeschool our children, so we're now teachers.
That's a real big challenge.
And I'm certainly working from home, so I'm going everywhere around the house with my laptop at the moment. And also I feel like the changes that are happening, I'm now going on to furlough on Tuesday, so you know, so I know it brought back some emotions again. It brought back the reality of how kind of volatile our situation is at the moment, and how things are changing. So like with that, I kind of want to know, like, how do you feel about that? Like, what techniques do you do? And also, like, when you go back to work and you're talking about this conflict, what techniques are you going to take on to kind of like balance yourself with being a doctor at work and having that conflict that you might, you know, bring back the virus at home, and being at home and that you're not kind of with your work colleagues? Like, how are you going to deal with that confliction?
So I do a lot of grounding techniques anyway, because the kind of speciality I work in obstetrician gynaecology, is quite an adrenaline rush, quite stressful. You know, labour ward women, you know, you're looking after two lives that could be in danger. So it's a kind of you know, stress kind of driven work I deal with anyway. So I developed a lot of tools from the past as well. And one of the things especially I've learned during the lockdown period is the yogic breathing techniques. They have been amazing. I cannot emphasize how brilliant they are. And his name's Vishnu, and it's Vishnu Yoga, Vishnu Swasi Yoga. And he doesn't do the actual yoga positions. He teaches you breathing exercises to improve your immunity and to improve your lung capacity.
Yeah.
And so I've done yoga as in like the kind of the basic vinyasa flow just to help me get through the day. So they're the kind of things I've always done anyway in the past couple of years. And I've also done meditation as well. But those breathing techniques really ground you. So it's what you talk about.
Yeah.
Because we're organic beings,
yeah.
right? And we're physiological beings. So these are practices from thousands of years. So just doing, they call it pranama. Pranama is with an English accent there, but it's pranama. And basically it's bringing in the breath and aligning yourself. Okay, it sounds a bit woo-hoo to the first bit, but when you actually physically do it, you feel it, and you actually ground yourself, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm here. Yeah, being in the moment, being present. And it also, the exercises also help you to increase your lung capacity, because this virus is about infecting the lungs, right? And so these practices have been brilliant with the alternative nostril breathing and breathing in oxygen deeply and then exhaling slowly. So it is a bit complicated, but the basic thing I would recommend to everyone is belly breaths. They're the most effective, simple thing anyone could actually do. I make my kids do it every day, once a day at least. So I make them do 3 belly breaths at least, you know. And it's basically all you're doing is you're putting your hand in your tummy, and as you breathe in and you blow your tummy out, and then you just exhale slowly. Okay, so you breathe in for say about 3 to 5 seconds, whatever you're able to. So if you're pregnant as well, you do it for a shorter period, and then you exhale really slowly for 8 seconds. And you will feel the effects dramatically. I mean, you can just do 2 now, and you will just feel different.
I bet.
So that's, if it's anything that's required, is quite simple and effective, I would recommend the 3 deep belly breaths to just ground you. So when you do feel anxiety, or you think your thoughts are racing, do those, because what happens is you're just taking in the oxygen, and physiologically you're stimulating your vagus nerve, so your parasympathetic and sympathetic nerves, basically. So when you stimulate some sympathetic nerves, you're all over the place, fright kind of freeze mode. But it also stimulates the parasympathetic system, which slows, it calms things down. And doing 3 belly breaths just grounds you, and it just gets you back into the moment, and just like makes you make sure you're here. Not in your head, not in those thoughts, not those stories that are going on in your mind. So I think those simple little things like that really help at this time.
And I think as well, like doing that sort of thing while you're on your hour's walk, you're allowed an hour's exercise. So maybe kind of like putting that into practice while you're outside, so in case you don't have a garden or a balcony or things like that, like going outside, going to your local park, doing these sort of things, and actually really kind of taking in that kind of the fact that you are outside for your allotted time, and really take that in. And actually as well, like I miss the kind of physical part of like kind of like saying hi to my friends and giving them a kiss and like giving them a hug. And I feel like because I miss that kind of interaction, I've now started saying hello to people walking past, and it kind of gives me that kind of like feeling of community as well, because we're acknowledging each other. We know that we're social distancing, so I know I can't be so close to you, but I want to say hi, and to say just to kind of like, we have to be kind to each other. It's a time where we shouldn't be getting aggressive or emotional. Emotions are high anyway. So I like that kind of interaction that I'm saying. I'm nodding to people, saying hi and going past. So I think that's really important too.
Because everyone's in the same situation. What do they think? 1.4 billion people are in lockdown. So we are sharing the same experience with people all around the world. And the best thing you can do is have compassion, be kind to each other, help each other as much as possible, because we're all in the same situation. And some people have it worse than others as well. So being grateful, and that's another thing I practice is the gratitude practice, which is amazing for your psychology. So I did it years ago where I would write 3 things I'm grateful for when I first was introduced to the concept, and I've started it again. Because again, you know, you could do it when you wake up or just before you go to bed. Because when you go to bed or wake up with a feeling of gratitude, apparently it's the highest positive kind of energy or whatever you want to call it that you can start the day with or go to sleep with. And you know, it has a very therapeutic effect on your body as well and your mind. So that's another practice I would recommend. Just 3. You don't even have to write it down. Just before you go to sleep, just say 3 things in your mind that you're grateful for. I had a beautiful, I know, pasta today, you know, bowl of pasta today. I sat in the garden with watching my children play in the sunshine. Or I'm grateful just to be lying in this beautiful bed.
I'm just grateful to have woken up this morning. Absolutely.
And these things don't cost you anything, and they're just things you can do, you know, at an internal level, something within yourself that you're doing to help. So that's another simple thing you could do for your mental health.
Amazing.